Hello, everyone, and welcome back to your favorite podcast in the entire universe. It's Garbage Time Takes, and as always, I'm Derek here with my co-host Bobby
Bobby.
and Dennis.
Maybe.
And folks, we just got done witnessing another one of the greatest Thursday night football games in NFL history. Thank you, Amazon, for after there being 40 consecutive drives without a touchdown being scored in the midst of a replay, we don't even get to see the full throw for the touchdown in the Bears Commanders game. Dennis, that was a heck of a game. The Bears, the Commanders choking it away at the end, and then the Bears saying, well, how about we one-up you and choke it away ourselves?
Yeah, pretty much. And I only watched really the end of this game. I didn't turn it on until later in the fourth quarter because
You're not a masochist.
In spending 2.5 hours watching the beginning of this game, but it was close at the end. So close football is worth watching, in my opinion, even if it is the Commanders and Bears. And it really kind of was an interesting finish. I mean, the missed field goal there, the Washington kicker, I don't even know who it is right now off the top of my head, but he missed the field goal that would have put him up by 8. The Bears take over, drive down the field. Fields had a really nice scramble to get him down inside the 10-yard line. And then the last play there to Darnell Mooney, which was just barely not a touchdown, which would have basically won the Bears the game, or at least extended the game. So it was kind of a wild finish, but the truth of the matter is these teams are not good. And once again, Amazon is screwing us. So, unfortunately.
Bobby, the Bears fall to 2-3. Thank goodness. I told you guys before the show that in our CBS pick'em that my two co-hosts failed to make their picks for. I said I chose Washington pretty much out of principle because I couldn't stomach the thought of Chicago being a 3-win team, and sure enough, they proved me right. Bob, once again, we all pretty much were only watching the end of that, if you can even call it a football game. What are your thoughts?
Like you said, Derek, I think I reiterated this about 4 or 5 podcasts ago at this point, but we can't have the Chicago Bears and the New York Giants winning games that they're not supposed to be winning. Now, the Giants have already let that ship sail, unfortunately. But the Bears, on the other hand, we can still keep them within reach. However, the Bears still have more wins than we do, as in the Detroit Lions at this point. So there's reason for concern, but we'll get to that at a later time.
I mean, the Washington Commanders are the only team that the Lions have beaten thus far. So surely, by, the transitive properties of our universe, the Lions must be able to beat the Bears.
I mean, check out Derek's article for a little bit more insight on that. Nice little season update that he provided. But these are two teams with more wins than the Detroit Lions at this current moment in time. I'm barfing. I might need to turn away to my trash can right behind me at any moment. So I apologize if that happens live on air.
I mean, Bob, even repping the Bears in their all-orange unis. And they... I imagine that was unintentional.
That was...
I mean, you talking about what I'm wearing now?
Just the fact that you wore all orange and the Bears also wore their all orange uniforms.
Oh, well, all this is all red, by the way.
Yeah, that looks red to me. Yeah,
that looks red
Bobby's
to you.
Got red going on.
Yeah,
that's
both of them are like
wearing.
Extremely crimson red. Yeah,
that must be
orange.
It must be an issue with my monitor then, because it looks like the crayon color red orange.
Yeah,
that's what it looks like to me. And that crayon always screwed me over with me thinking it was orange, and then you draw on the piece of paper and it's actually red.
So basically, Bobby's shirt is a crown.
Correct.
Yeah. Yep. Which is always fun to hear me say, because I think we've had this discussion because I can't say the word crayon.
Yeah, that's just not.
Thank you, Southwest Ohio.
Yeah. But yeah. Well, before we do get into the rest of the NFL, because usually that takes up the majority of our show, uh, baseball, which is mine and Dennis's. That's our pastime. Big baseball supporters. The Astros today took a 2-0 lead on the Mariners, America's team. Yordan Alvarez just absolutely mashing baseballs. Bob, you're given the throat slash. Are the M's sunk?
It's over. It's over. I mean, really, let's be real here. With Luis Castillo on the mound, you knew that any team with Luis Castillo on the mound leading them was not going to get a win on that day. So,
come on, hold up. He was pretty
Unfortunately-
dominant in the wild card series start. He was pretty dominant.
unfortunately, not dominant enough today. And so that means that the Astros are just unfortunately just more talented and just a little bit better than the Mariners. I know that everybody wants the upset, including the city of Seattle. But I hate to rain on the parade, but it's over. There's no chance of any comeback I see in the future. Although I would like to see some close series all over the place, because that just means free baseball, and it doesn't look like the Mariners are going to be participating in that program.
I mean,
I
Dennis.
disagree.
Luis Castillo went back to his old Reds days and served up some meatballs and gave up 2 dongs. Yesterday, Mariners manager putting in Robbie Ray instead of sticking with Paul, and he coughs the game up. I mean,
You never go away
is
from
there
Paul.
any hope?
You never go away.
Is there any hope, Dennis?
I think there is. Yesterday was really sad. Choked that game away. Today, Luis, not necessarily your strongest outing, but still you got to expect a little bit more out of the offense than that. And I think there's hope. And the reason I say that is because I've seen crazier. I've
my
seen
gosh.
2010 Cincinnati Reds. Yes, I'm going to bring it up. Blow a 2-0 lead with 3 games at home against San Francisco, not win a single one of them and lose the series. It's possible. Don't give up yet.
It's good that you bring that up, Dennis, because that's why I'm even more convinced that there's no chance, is because every single player that was a former Cincinnati Red is now playing for the Mariners, which means that there's absolutely 0 winning intangibles on this ball club. And
It's 12 years ago. Those guys
and
are
wow, the culture lingers, Dennis. The culture lingers. The culture moves past that. And
I see what
unfortunately,
you're saying, but
Seattle
that's
hasn't
not-
seen a whole
that's
lot of
not
winning
valid.
baseball either, as I recall. So when you mix bad with worse, you just get no winning intangibles. So
No,
Yeah.
here's the thing. The Mariners are going to get a chance to play the next 2 games of this series at home,
They do.
which is, of course, being down 0-2, not ideal. You got to win these games.
yes,
But if you can force a game 5, anything can happen. Anything can happen in a game 5 if you can win 2 games at home against a very good Houston team. But all I'm saying is it's not over, and it's not over because the culture of the Cincinnati Reds has invaded Seattle.
Dennis.
That's
This
invalid.
another follow-up question for you. Why do I
Go
keep
for it.
tuning in, every other day to check on how the Mariners are doing or whatever? And I'm seeing highlight reels of Eugenio Suarez raking, hitting bombs left and right, and having a resurgence.
Because he's a good player.
Where was this when I was, watching the dog days of September baseball for the Reds and seeing like a 114 batting average from Eugenio Suarez? When the only time he ever got a hit was a dog. What's going on?
He's had a very up and down career, it feels like, and I'd have to go back and look at the statistics, but obviously we got him from Detroit for nothing. He turned into what was basically a superstar, and then fell off planet Earth, and then we traded him to Seattle to get him off the books, and he's resurged to the quite competitive and able levels.
Everyday third
hats
baseman.
off to him. I've always loved Eugenio. I mean, just his attitude, just the way he plays the game, the smile is infectious, and so I'm still rooting for him to have success, even if he was batting 114 in August for Cincinnati back-to-back years.
Fair enough.
Dennis, while I give a little monologue on my own Astros Mariners thoughts, if you could enable screen sharing, that would be very much appreciated.
Of course, I don't know why it defaults that way.
No problem.
We'll fix
But
that.
yeah,
We'll fix that right now.
appreciate it. But yeah, I'm with Bob. I think it's pretty much sunk. The Mariners' hopes and dreams pretty much relied on being able to close out that game one. And I've seen a lot of loser franchises in my life. I'm a fan of one of them, the Detroit Lions. And when it comes to loser franchises, they just always find a way to lose.
Yes.
And you just can't, give your team your all and expect great things, as Dennis has enabled screen sharing. Thank you very much. But just for Dennis, even though I'm going against my gut here, just for Dennis. Believe, baby. Believe,
Believe.
dang it. Believe.
It's gonna be flying in Seattle.
Gotta
You
gotta
can
believe.
count on that.
Gotta believe, see us rise, dang it, Dennis. See us rise.
That's right. Anything's possible. I thank you for sharing. I'm very glad that I enabled the screen sharing for this moment. And
Correct.
so where are you falling on this, Derek? Are they at least going to win Game 3? Do they at
I
least
think
force Game 4, or no? Is it over?
I think they will win game three. I just don't think they can disappoint the home fans, and they can't be the team that gets swept. So at least for game three, I will believe. I will believe for game three.
All right, all right.
Anything,
I'll give you that.
anything past that is up to, the teams themselves. But I told you the Blue Jays or Mariners. One of those two teams was going to be my team throughout the postseason, and it sucked that we had to watch one of them dip out in the wild card. But I'm gonna give them my hope at least, Dennis.
I think we need to transition quickly to my team throughout this postseason, which I do like the Mariners out of the American League, but the Philadelphia Phillies taking care of the St. Louis Cardinals, as I know me and Derek both appreciated in the wild card series, and then they went and won Game 1
They
of
did.
this series with the Atlanta Braves,
Nearly
uh,
choked it.
and nearly choked it. Won the Game 1, and then fell unfortunately last night. That series is tied at 1-1, so basically just down to a best of 3 at this point
Correct.
over the weekend. What are your thoughts there?
Nick Castellanos, where were you all season? But
Seriously,
I
yes.
guess I guess better to show up better late than never. But I think the Braves probably win both games in Philadelphia. I think Philadelphia won game one on, that was what's the word I'm looking for? Philadelphia are not frauds, but that was a fraud win. It
Lukey?
was, yeah, fluke. Thank you, Dennis. Game one was absolutely a fluke, and the Braves answered in game two with just a dominant all around performance. And I think that's the team you're going to see the rest of the series. The Braves are my pick. I've got to ride my pick. So give me the Braves in four.
All right, well, that's disappointing to hear. Bobby, what are your
But
thoughts?
but but I do very much thank them for beating the Cardinals because that was hilarious. Screw you, Yachty. Screw you, Albert. Screw you, Adam Wainwright. Enjoy retirement. Two of you three.
Dennis, I hate to point this out again, but Raisel Iglesias, another scoreless inning of ball, thrown for the Atlanta Braves. I mean, talk about giving up on a guy too early, but no,
We got former Reds all over this postseason.
But-
It's incredible. They're all over it.
I mean, well, when your
Imagine if they
son
were still in
doesn't
Cincinnati.
say, they can't root for anybody else, so I mean, this is what they get. But no, absolutely great performance from Kyle Wright in game two. It was fun watching him just go, shove all over the Phillies, who had no chance from the jump. It was clear from his first couple innings of work that it was going to be a long day for them. And it really just ended up that way. And then, of course, you bring Kenley Jansen in to shut the door, and that's basically, with Rysel, the way he's been pitching lately, and Kenley coming in, it makes it
Curtains.
very, very tough. We've been seeing a lot of comebacks this postseason, but it's certainly going to be a tough crew to come back against when you're referring to the Atlanta Braves. That back end of the pen has looked dominant recently, so just something to keep in mind. But I'm with Derek. The Phillies are dead in the water. I too have the Braves, so I kind of wouldn't be, I'd be talking out of both sides of my mouth if I didn't really believe that they were going to, assert their dominance.
Dennis, are you pulling for Philadelphia?
I am, and it's more. I think we've talked about this before in the podcast, like heart versus head. This one I can tell you for sure is with my heart. It's not. I mean, everything that you guys have said makes perfect sense. Atlanta is a scary team that if I'm thinking about like teams you don't want to be playing right now, it's Atlanta. You don't want to be playing right now. And so the fact that the Phillies won game one was a huge shift in the momentum early on in the series to be able to keep them in it from the get go, because it easily could have been 2-0 already. And we're talking about the Phillies like we're talking about the Mariners. It's just based on the fact that the series is tied. I don't think it's that unrealistic to think that Philadelphia could just randomly win 2 more games, but the better team is Atlanta. And so whenever you're looking to beat a better team in a series, you kind of have to get lucky here and there. Looks like Austin Nola's going tomorrow
Aaron.
for Philly. Braves have not decided on a pitcher yet, but I definitely want Philly to win. I'm trying to go to game 3 of the National League Championship Series, so I really need Philly to win because that would just be dope, and I don't care who they play because that would be sweet. But they got to get through the Braves, and it's just, I don't know, it's gonna be tough.
That would be pretty cool. How come you saved for the NLCS and didn't go to the NLDS, Dennis?
Well, shout out Wyatt Weaver, aka Big Boy, who
Dennis, who forgot my birthday, will be able to go to a Phillies NLCS game.
forgot his birthday, but going to be, living it up at Citizens Bank Park in downtown Philadelphia.
Bob, everything all good over there?
Everything's all good. We are back after a 4-second intermission. We are back.
Did you say
Hey,
4 second?
Yeah.
Okay. Are we still rolling then?
We're still rolling. We're still good.
We're still rolling.
Come on
Okay.
now. This is an amateur hour. We're back.
My apologies. Speaking of, teams that, I didn't mind seeing get knocked out of the postseason. The New York Mets, thank you, goodbye. The San Diego Padres have taken 1 game in LA against the Dodgers, which is huge because I don't want to see the Dodgers in the NLCS personally. Taking that second game was pretty big. Dennis's regular season fantasy baseball hero, Manny Machado, really just putting the team on his back right now. Former and, very much beloved. What was my team name? Ayo and Teo's Rollies player Freddie Freeman also coming through for the Dodgers in the postseason so far. One of Bob's favorite players. 1-1. San Diego going back home. What are you guys thinking about how this one ends up shaking out?
For me, this is actually probably the most competitive series that there is in this DS. I mean, it really feels like of the 4, this is the most competitive. And with the Padres coming home now to slam Diego, it could be. I mean, we could be looking at a game 5. Actually, I would be predicting a game 5 in this series, and which would of course be back in LA, which of course advantage goes back to the Dodgers in that case. But this is a very entertaining series, and I'm looking forward to watching it play out. I really don't know. Prediction wise, I mean, Dodgers have been better season long, but like you said, Manny Machado put the team on his back. This Padres roster is still very talented. And I could see it going both ways.
Yeah, Bob, first postseason game in front of fans in San Diego. San Diego was in the playoffs during the COVID year. Since 2006, if the Padres were to win one of these next 2 games, the fans there would be the first ever to witness a Padres postseason victory at home. Can they get any, Bob?
I'm not optimistic. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not optimistic. Optimistic, and I'll tell you why. When your team like the Dodgers and you've won over 100 plus games during the season, that shows me that you have talent from front to back of your team on any day that can go. It's playoff baseball, so I understand you're trying to throw your best out there at any given moment. But obviously, as the longer series goes on, the more depth comes into play. And I got to believe that the better depth here is the Dodgers. So maybe the home crowd, kind of the Mariners effect that you guys were talking about, gets them one. I'm not optimistic about it. I know the back end of the rotation has been kind of banged up for the Dodgers, so that also might be playing their favor. But I'm not totally optimistic about a win this series for the Padres. I'll say that at least. But I will say this. I just thinking back, thinking Dodgers, and we were just talking about the Braves and all that. Could you guys imagine if the Braves had Freddie Freeman and freaking who's the second baseman that got hurt from me this year? Ozzie now.
Yes.
In addition to all the guys that they've got going now, that just crossed my mind. That's actually unreal. But anyway.
I mean, we were fortunate enough to see it last year.
I know. We know what happened. We know what happened.
Mm-hmm.
And now just look at what's going on again without those two.
And is now this setting up for a Dodgers Braves in LCS, which is just the storylines galore back and forth between LA and Atlanta. Because that regular season series was blown up beyond proportions. Imagine for a trip to the World Series. Now we've got storylines about Freddie Freeman and the all the stuff with his agent comes back into play. It's just going to be if that's what sets up. It's going to be interesting.
Yeah, I think for me, I'm with Bob in the sense that I think the Dodgers pull it off, but I do think the Padres can get it to go 5 games. I think like I said, you got to win one at home in the playoffs. You got to, and I think they'll be able to. Unfortunately for the Bob, the Yankees did not play because their game got postponed due to bad weather. Currently holding a 1-0 series lead. To be frankly honest with you, I don't think Cleveland wins a game this series. This has 3-0 written all over it.
I actually disagree. I think Cleveland wins the next game. I think game 2 goes to Cleveland, and then the Yankees will sweep it out against them. I think that, the Yankees, will sweep it out. But I'm not really that big of a fan of Nestor Cortez. He's looked good, but he's also at some points he was kind of had that hype, at the beginning of the season. Ever since then, he's kind of, every time I've watched, he's been okay. He's been convincing, but obviously he gets the ball. If this game finally gets played tomorrow, for the Yankees, and then none other than Dennis's man Shane Bieber on the mound for the Guardians. You got to think if Cleveland's going to get it done, it's going to be tomorrow, especially with Shane on the mound. And Shane Bieber looked, as usual, excellent in his start in the wild card. I believe he had 8 Ks in that outing as well, and had like a 1 ERA, something like that. So, obviously, if it's going to get done, I think it gets done tomorrow. I talked to some buddies that I know at school kind of about this game that they're interested in my thoughts. I think 3-1 Cleveland gets the job done tomorrow, if I had to guess.
Yeah, I will say this though, Bob. You're right. Nestor did have a bit of a stretch in July where he was giving up some runs, but he hasn't given up 2 earned runs in a start since September 8th against Minnesota. And he hasn't given up a home run since August 21st. In his past 4 outings, he's given up 2 earned runs over a combined 23 and 1/3 innings. And against Cleveland in the regular season, 6 1/3, 2 earned runs and a homer with 8 Ks and a win, and 6 innings, 1 earned run and a solo shot in a 6-1 win. So Nestor has got Cleveland's numbers so far. So that at least is in part as to why I will definitely be rolling with the Yanks tomorrow.
But you, and you guys, I'm surprised you guys don't bring this up because you guys are the Yankees haters of the group bunch. You know how the Yankees get in postseason ball. They start choking their guts out left and right.
Against good teams, though, Bob.
Against good teams.
Against the
teams.
Astros and the Red Sox.
I got you. But tomorrow
they'll choke against bad teams.
I mean, all right, okay, all right. I hope you're right. I hope you're right. But I just have a feeling something tells me Shane Bieber tomorrow is going to be mow down City.
And that's fine. And I think Nestor is also mow down City. Where I'm not confident is if anyone in Cleveland's bullpen not named Emmanuel Clase. And if he doesn't get a chance to shove tomorrow, then it ain't going to matter. Dennis, what are you thinking?
Yeah, Cleveland, they won that series against the Tampa Bay Rays, but it just didn't look pretty. I mean, it was like 1-0 and 2-1 in the 15-inning game. Correct. On Saturday. So I don't have a lot of confidence in Cleveland. The pitching's been good, but at the end of the day, I just have really more faith in this Yankees offense than I do in Cleveland's than Cleveland's batting lineup. And so I don't necessarily know that it's going to have to be a game tomorrow that the Yankees win, but I do think the Yankees win this series, and I don't think it's going to 5 games. So they either are going to win this in 3 or 4.
Still World Series predictions remain the same for everyone. If we want to remind,
what was it?
Mine was Braves Astros.
Yankees Braves.
Dennis, what was yours? Do you remember?
Did I say? I think because I hated it. I said Dodgers Yankees because I said that's the one situation I didn't want to happen. So at least I would be right if it did.
Yeah, maybe. I do not remember. I remembered mine, and
I thought we noted these down. Oh crap!
Yeah,
I guess
mental note, Dennis.
Unbelievable. Yes. First he forgets my birthday, then he forgets his own World Series predictions. Anyway, moving on. College football, big slate of games this weekend. But before we jump into them,
big slate.
Before we jump into them, we'll briefly recap last week. Fortunately, my Michigan Wolverines were able to overcome Mike Hart's sudden collapse on the sidelines in the first half en route to blanking Indiana in the second half, scoring 21 unanswered points, and finally letting J.J. McCarthy throw the dang football because for some reason our co-offensive coordinators think that Cade McNamara is still under center. So very fortunate that they decided to get their heads out of their arses and let JJ throw the ball. He went over 300 yards for the first time in his career, and hopefully we see more of the same of that this Saturday night against Penn State. But before that, Bob, the deep end became the shallow end, just more of the same for MSU's past defense. I mean, is there anything even more to say?
No, there's nothing more to say. There's nothing more to say. I said, but last week this was 70 bomb waiting to happen, and it was ugly, and it was ugly pretty quick. Yeah, I mean 1 quarter, basically quick, and so no, there's nothing more to say. There's disaster scenes are occurring, and to the 18% of you on CBS Pick'em who took the MSU Spartans this week against the Badgers. I don't care how bad you're down in your leagues. Change your picks now, or forever hold your peace because this is no chance. No, I don't care if it's at home. I don't care if it's on Mars. We're not winning this ball game. If somehow Wisconsin, who's probably one of the worst passing attacks we've faced, is probably going to go for 400 yards and 4 tubs on us. No, I mean, The Badgers never even
Bobby,
seen
looks
this
like we
much
got-
passing attack that's going to
We
happen.
got Wisconsin minus 7.5. Are you hammering that?
I mean, I might be hammering that. I think it's a 10-point ball game at least. I mean, when we lose big. I'll give us that. When we fold, we just fold all the way. And if we keep it close, we keep it close. That's it. It's either we win by a lot or we lose by a lot.
Bob, the only other thing I wanted to ask
Oh my
was
gosh.
Peyton Thorne. Is it time to go to Noah Kim? And that's put aside Noah Kim's touchdown drive, because I take zero stock in pressureless football at the end of fourth quarters when all the scrubs are on the fields. I take zero stock in that. What I do take stock in is Peyton Thorne's serious regression as a quarterback, since he no longer has Kenneth Walker as a running threat. So I just ask, is it time to make a change just to make a change? Sometimes teams need that spark where, it doesn't matter how good the guy behind you is. You just need a change for the sake of a change. Are we going to see that going into the Michigan game if the Wisconsin game is more the same from Peyton Thorne, even after Coach Tuck gave Peyton Thorne, a boost of confidence in, the press conferences over the week?
Okay, so here's my thoughts on that. Here's the thing. If the problem was we were losing ball games that were, one-score games, just close games that our offense just clearly wasn't good, just couldn't get us over the hump when we needed it, I would be clamoring for Peyton Thorne to be tossed aside and on to the next. But I don't care who's quarterbacking this football team. We wouldn't have won any of these games. I mean, we lost by 29 points to Ohio State, 14 to Maryland, 34. Or we lost by 27 to Minnesota, and double digits to Washington. So I mean, we're allowing 35 points a game in those losses. I mean, even if we had Kenneth Walker, it's still going to be tough to get to 35 points a game. So I guess my short of it is, if it was the offense if adding a spark to the offense would really make that much of a difference to get us over the hump in these games, even if it was a little bit closer than it is now, maybe you could somehow justify it. But until we're actually able to, force a punt, until we're actually able to, hold a team to 24 points, I'm not too worried about anything on the offensive side of the ball, because it's really going to make a difference.
I think that's totally fair. Totally fair. Was just curious because I know there's a lot of MSU faithful out on the Twitterverses calling for Noah Kim. And as a Michigan fan, I've been in that situation seemingly every year for, ever since Harbaugh's taken over pretty much. For a time we were pretty stable at the quarterback position, Chad Henne, Denard Robinson, Devin Gardner. There was never really a second guy to ask, and clamor for. So yeah, was just curious, but yeah, makes sense. It doesn't really matter who your quarterback is if you can't stop a nosebleed.
We gotta have somebody hold. We need a couple of things to happen this week. Open tryouts for a new kicker, because our kicker is horrendous. I mean, this is pitiful. We're trotting out there at kicker at a Big Ten university. And number two, can we get somebody in the defensive backfield, please? I mean, this is ridiculous. I mean, every week...
Mel Tucker's a defensive backs coach by nature.
I don't know. Maybe he's the wrong guy. I have no idea. But all I know is...
Too late for that, I think, after the contract.
Can we get somebody in there that can cover anybody? Please, thank you. I mean, we finally got our first interception of the season this week. I'll at least give us that.
Yeah, at least he didn't drop it.
6 weeks into the season, guys, we finally got an interception. I remember a week or so ago, Derek, you and I were talking about how, even though the defense was giving up a lot of points, they at least forcing turnovers. And I remember being, I don't know about that. And then when I hear about the first interception of the season, I'm like, this is exactly what I was talking about right here. Couldn't stop a nosebleed. Not even against Zippy could we get a pick. I mean, come on.
Unbelievable. Dennis, UC survives a scare. Very nearly
Darn
my
it.
upset pick
Darn
came to
it.
fruition. But that's 2 weeks in a row that I've picked teams to cover the spread against UC, and I'm pretty sure they have. So, Dennis, you survived, Tulsa. You survived Southern Florida.
Who probably doesn't even have a
SMU,
stadium right now.
correct. SMU on the road, 21st ranked team in the nation. You weren't worried last week. You weren't worried the week before. Is there finally any worry in Dennis Weaver's heart about UC winning this football game?
Well, there's a little worry just about the team in general, but we do get the week off this week. I believe that game is the 22nd. So that will be. So we get 1 week of rest to, regroup and sit down, review the tape. I think there's a lot to review, and Luke Fickell is going to have a lot to on his plate to get this thing right. But it's survive and advance and move on. Keep ourselves in the rankings, keep ourselves at the top of the American. But it was ugly. Unfortunately, I did not get to watch this game because it was on ESPN Plus, and they have no respect for the American. Putting a ranked team on ESPN Plus only, whatever. So I don't have a ton of analysis, but it was scary. I mean, whenever your team, a ranked team at home, is clearly struggling with an inferior opponent, you got to wonder what's going on there. And Tulsa has always been a team that's given us a run for our money. South Florida is not. So to beat them by 4, needing a last-second touchdown. Not last second, fourth quarter touchdown, and then basically a big stand on defense, which we were able to get. Not the way you want to win that ball game. You want to be, throwing out the freshmen and sophomores in the third quarter. So it's unideal. I have faith that they'll get it figured out. Only really a couple of clear mistakes. Ben Bryant threw a pick early that led to more South Florida points after the defense let South Florida drive down the field on the first drive of the game and score a touchdown. It was 10-0 just like that. So it was kind of a similar vibe to the Indiana game where we kind of went down early, made a couple mistakes early, and then were able to claw back into it and came out on top. But I feel like I'm beating a dead horse, not the way you want to win a football game, and especially not against South Florida.
Bob, it sounds like Ben Bryant makes a lot of mistakes. 1
week. You can count on 15, him for like 1 a week, and then he can hone it in and figure it out and get down to bread. But you can count on him to make 1 mistake a week, definitely.
15 for 21, Bob. 178 yards gross, 2 TDs and 2 interceptions. If it wasn't for UC being able to run for 179 yards with Charles McClelland, UC would have been sunk. So Dennis should be thanking his lucky stars that USF's run defense is horrendous.
Well, here's the thing, and I don't have the numbers right in front of me. I don't know anything about USF's run defense. I'm sure it wasn't that great, but that's how we've been winning games all year. We just run over people. Like, that's just the strength of this team. The running backs are so dynamic, and it can be a different one each week. So that doesn't necessarily surprise me, and I think we've probably put up more than 179 yards several times this year already.
Well,
I'm pretty sure we did in.
Go ahead.
No, as I said, I'm pretty sure we did against Indiana.
Well, Dennis, how about I, enlighten everyone on where South Florida ranks in terms of rushing defense. There are 131 FBS football teams that get ranked by every metric every year. The University of South Florida Bulls are the 123rd out of 131 teams in rushing defense. They gave up 219 yards per game. And so, again, very, very fortunate that South Florida has a worse defense than Oklahoma when it comes to stopping the rushing attack, because you deserve to lose, Dennis. Dang it. You deserve to lose.
Here's the thing. Ben Bryant is just what I said he was, Derek. I would like to put it on a record for like the umpteenth week in a row. Staying and not to be trusted, not to be relied upon. And when you're counting on transfers from Eastern Michigan University to bail you out, I mean, that just says all it needs to be said right there. When you go from like second round pick to EMU, I mean,
that speaks for itself.
I don't need to say anything more than that. I mean, good Lord.
Speaks for itself. Dennis, I will give you, a little bit of hope for SMU. They have the 103rd ranked rushing defense at 176 yards per game. So, in my mind, it's a no excuses type of game. So I hope that UC are not exposed as frauds.
Yeah, I mean, I sure hope so too. I was also wrong about the Indiana game. That was actually like the worst rushing performance. The best rushing performance of the season was last week against Tulsa, or 2 weeks ago now. So apparently we can only beat American teams on the ground because American teams have bad rush defenses. So I guess you were right on the money, basically.
All I'm saying, East Carolina, Bob. East Carolina. I could have sworn I just saw them. Where'd they go? The number 29th ranked rushing defense.
Now, Derek,
Ben Bryant's going to have to beat the Pirates
can
on
you get the passing
11th.
defense numbers up by chance?
I can get the passing defense numbers. Who do you want to know?
MSU.
Sure thing. Give me 1 second.
No, don't do it. It's a trap.
Give me 1 second. Passing yards
Dennis,
allowed.
make the pain stop, Dennis.
Passing yards allowed. Let me just skip right over to the third page real quick.
Oh, God, the third page.
Michigan State is ranked 122nd,
Oh my
131 in passing yards allowed at 292 yards per game.
Oh, God.
Only Akron at 123, North Carolina, Memphis, Oklahoma State, Arkansas, Tennessee, Bowling Green, Vanderbilt, and Ohio are worse.
Akron, who Michigan State played.
It beat like 50-0.
Yeah.
Let's see where East Carolina ranks.
Oh my
in passing.
Gosh, Dennis,
We're gonna have Ben Bryant just put the team on his shoulders on November 11th when we do battle with the Pirates, apparently. Unless they have if they have
a
a good
recipe for disaster.
Yeah. He couldn't even get 200 yards against the Bulls.
Correct.
And he got two picks.
East Carolina is ranked 98th at 256.8 yards per game.
Yeah,
So not
that's
terrible, but still behind Central Michigan, who give up 240.5 yards per game through the air. So
wow, chips, baby.
Take that as you will. But yeah, I'm looking for SMU. Bob, Wisconsin, 203 yards per game through the air, giving up.
That's not enough for my liking.
Come on, where's
Dorn is not going to be thrown for more than that.
I mean, he's probably going to get to like 180.
East Carolina is on page 2. They're on page 2 at 98. 98 for East Carolina, the Pirates.
Fair.
So not. Oh yeah, we already said that. Not terrible. I was looking for SMU, wasn't I? SMU is 84th. 84th at 240 yards per game, just above Central Michigan. So, Dennis, could you guys beat CMU, do you think?
I think we could beat CMU.
Well,
yeah, I'm pretty confident we could beat CMU.
I hope so. The only other game that we haven't talked about yet, Michigan, Penn State, the Maze out in the Big House. I'm very much looking forward to this game. This is what I call the fraud game of the week right here. One of these two teams is going to be a contender and one is going to be a pretender. And I'm just hoping and praying that Michigan is the former and not the latter, because I couldn't stomach a top 10 matchup loss to James Franklin, because that would just be sickening. Just some quick stats, just because I have them pulled up, so why not? Penn State has the 103rd ranked passing defense at 262 yards per game allowed. Michigan has the 11th ranked passing defense at 165 yards per game allowed. But where both of these teams really make their money is in rushing defense. Michigan number 7 at 82 yards per game, and Penn State at number 5 at 80 yards per game. So I have a feeling the ground games, which are both teams' offensive strengths and both teams' defensive strengths. So it'll be very interesting to see Deshaun Clifford, who's been there for like 25 years, versus JJ McCarthy this weekend. But I believe Michigan is like 7-point favorites. So if Wisconsin, with after firing their head coach, can be 7-point favorites against MSU, I'd like to think Michigan can, take care of business as well.
What is it with Big Ten quarterbacks and playing until they're 40? That's what it feels
Dennis,
like. It's
I wish I
unbelievable.
knew. You've got Tanner Morgan, who's ancient. Sean Clifford is ancient. I feel like who is it? Art Sitkowski, the guy who transferred from Rutgers to Illinois. I feel like he's ancient. Let me see. No, he's not really ancient. He's in his fifth season.
Okay. All right.
He started he was a freshman at Rutgers, then a sophomore at Rutgers, and then a sophomore again at Rutgers in the COVID year, and then a sophomore again at Illinois. So now he's a junior. So
I guess the COVID year is changing things a bit, and that's probably why it feels like this. It feels like there's been some guys in this Big Ten at quarterback since like 2017. It's like,
yeah.
what is going on?
So because he only played in 3 games at Rutgers, in 2019, he was able to redshirt that year. And then
I see.
The following year as a sophomore for Rutgers was the COVID year. So he got an extra year of eligibility. And then last year was finally his actual sophomore season. So this dude could be at Illinois for like 2 more years. Ridiculous. But yeah, do either of you have any thoughts on the Michigan Penn State game? Who are you taking in the pick'em? I guess
I'm taking U of M, and I once again think that it will be a cover.
Dennis,
I think this could be a competitive game, and it should be a good one. But I also took Michigan in the pick'em, especially at the Big House. There's a lot to be said for that. And I think Michigan will. I don't think they're going by any means to run away with this, but I think it ends up being a win for the maize and blue. I don't have too many other thoughts though.
yeah, James Franklin is 2-13 against top 10 ranked teams.
Right.
That was going into this season. I don't think he's faced a top 10 team yet. And I believe he's winless against top 5 teams. And he's 1-7 versus ranked road teams. And his only win was at Northwestern in 2017. So just hopefully tendencies roll through. The only other game I really wanted to talk about briefly was Alabama, Tennessee. Hendon Hooker making his Heisman case for Tennessee. They're going to be playing Rocky Top all night at Neyland Stadium. Bryce Young, still don't know if he's going to play or not. I just was curious as to who you guys were thinking about taking there, because I'm pretty much taking Tennessee unless Bryce Young plays.
I took Tennessee. I mean, Alabama did not look good last week without Bryce Young against. They played A&M, right? Was that the A&M game? Yeah, that was a game that, frankly, Texas A&M just about won. And I was actually going to put as my loser of the week, if that's what happened, the Alabama kicker, because he missed like 2 relatively short field goals, and they were talking about how he's super reliable, and it just left 6 points on the board for Alabama. A lot of people that I've heard trying to like point at that as Alabama not being great. I don't think I'm like going that far yet because they were without literally a top Heisman candidate and their kicker left 6 points on the board. Like, how often does that happen? It didn't look pretty. I don't think Alabama's bad, but my heart wants me to take the Vols here, especially in Neyland. So, yeah, that's going to be a good one.
Absolutely. Bob?
Roll Tide, baby. You know who I'm taking.
Of course, Bobby would say that.
I'm riding with my man Nick Saban to get the job done, and it's just not. It's just a hard pick. It's a hard pick.
Gotta be. Do we have any updated news on Bryce Young? I'm looking. He's just day by day practicing a little bit more, but Dennis knows as well as anybody how a sprained AC joint works. And so
That's a low blow. Low blow.
I'll be interested to see if he ends up suiting up this week. Because even with Bryce Young, if Texas doesn't lose Quinn Ewers, they probably win that game. So I'm just not sold on Alabama this year. But Nick Saban always finds a way to, stick it to the doubters. So here's hoping I'm on the right side of history this week.
Yeah, that thing hurts. That is a lot of pain. And
yeah, but yeah, we'll briefly recap last week's Lions and Bengals games.
Oh boy.
We're a podcast of losers this week, unfortunately. I wrote an article. If you'd like to, check out the Garbage Time Takes website. Wrote an article sort of updating my predictions for the rest of the season. I wasn't too far off. 1-4 isn't that much different from 2-3. You are what your record says you are. And Bob, the record says that the Detroit Lions are yet again a bad football team.
Yeah, I read the article. I was talking to Dennis about it beforehand. It's just one of those articles where I read it and I wanted to make a gripe about it. I wanted to, but then I was like, can I really do it? Is another question. And it's like, okay, I might like ticky-tack about this game or that game, right? Like I might say they might beat Miami if they have their third-string quarterback, right? Like I might say that where you had them losing. But then they might lose to somebody that, like, the Bears once or something like that where we shouldn't.
And they've already proven they can lose to third-string.
Correct, and then I said that too. I mean, but
zapped.
Here's the thing. I said going into the week that just the number one thing you can't do is get zapped. And unfortunately, we were zapped. Derek, when is this defense... What is this defense going to stop a nosebleed? When?
Not this year.
I mean, this is
not this year.
I mean,
Bob.
Here's the one gripe I did have with your article, Derek. Here's the one gripe I did have, and I'll ask you about it directly. How are we on thin ice with same old Lions? We're through the ship is sunk on that front. We're the same old Lions.
Because I still believe
back.
in the culture. Because I still believe in the culture.
Derek, what's the culture that's been a sieve? We're a sieve. We're a laughing stock. Again,
like I said in the article.
I don't want to believe it. I don't want to believe it.
Like I said in the article, which I very much, recommend reading. We're a culture of grit right now, and I'm hoping. And like I said, cultures of grit do not win Super Bowls. So I'm hoping that we take the culture of grit and that translates into winning games. Because this was the only game all season where the Lions just looked like they didn't want to play. And I don't know how much that has to do with Savion Smith getting stretchered off literally on the first Patriots play of the game. I don't know. But it was really the first game, and we haven't seen it really since last year against, Denver.
Yep.
Where it just looked like they didn't want to be on the field. And so I really want to believe in the culture, and so that's why it's not yet same old Lions.
I
Because
mean,
the
what do we
same
got to do? What do we got to do to get to that point?
um
Like, what's going to be the straw that breaks the camel's back?
the straw that breaks the camel's back is if we lose to the Bears.
Oh God, you see, that's it. That's exactly. It's funny that you were saying that because
That's my straw.
because
If we lose to the Cowboys, we're supposed to lose to the Cowboys. If we lose to the Dolphins, we're supposed to lose to the Dolphins. But if we lose to the Bears,
oh,
that's
Derek.
that's the straw that breaks not only the camel's back but my back.
I could tell that you've at least been hearing what I've had to say on this podcast for the past 10 or so weeks because I saw it in the article. Thank you, Derek. I love the line. I cannot stomach a last place finish in the NFC North again. Thank you. That went a long way for me, and I'm right there with you. I don't
You're
care.
welcome.
I don't care if we finish freaking 3 in
14.
14 this season. If the Bears are only at 2 wins, I'll at least be able to sleep at night, knowing that that we didn't finish. What would this now be? 5 straight seasons. 5. We're already in a leap year, Derek. We're already in leap year status at 4.
We are.
5 seasons at the bottom of the NFC North. I just want people to sit back and think about what they were doing in their life 5 years ago, and just think that's how long it's been since we've even finished above last place. Now, we're not talking win the division.
This was literally the beginning of our college career.
We're not talking, Super Bowl bound 5 seasons ago. Just not last place 5 seasons ago. I mean, it's actually harder. And I know this is a long rant, but when you lose to Bailey Zappi, you're entitled to a long rant. It's actually harder to be this bad for that amount of time than it is to actually be good for a period of time. Because the whole entire point of the sports world is to set up so this doesn't happen. That's the whole point. And somehow, some way, we've got all the grit. We got grit up the yin yang, but we can't stop a nosebleed on defense. We have we can't teach anybody an assignment. And even if we did teach them an assignment, we're not seeing any execution. Then we're practically putting Josh Reynolds in at corner because we've got nobody left in the defensive backfield because they've got cramps and they have to be carted off the field because they're cramping. And then we're just getting tic-tac injuries.
Come back in the game at least.
Then we got tic-tac injuries up the wazoo, and to our already horrendous secondary, and it's just over. That's just what it is.
The only other thing I wanted to ask Bob, Jared Goff.
Please do.
Is he the guy? Is he the guy? Because a couple weeks ago we were like, listen, if Jared Goff can be the guy and the Lions don't have to spend a first-round pick on a quarterback and can instead have an entire defensive-focused draft, it would have done wonders for the organization. But now Jared Goff, like I wrote in the article, I very much recommend people go check out. Jared Goff plays like a Hall of Famer and a JV high school quarterback in the same game. It's unbelievable the roller coaster of, skill that this guy has. And I have to believe it's a mental thing because sometimes he makes amazing throws, tight windows, just absolutely putting the ball in the money. And then other times he just gets completely baited by a rookie cornerback and throws a ball, 3 seconds way too late and gets picked off in the red zone, or throws a horribly blatant, underthrown, soft thrown pick six. And pick sixes have, been part of the difference that the Lions have lost 2 games this year by. And then he also can't throw the ball past the sticks on 4th down because he's so scared.
Nope.
He's so scared and immediately takes the first open check down he has, when if he would have trust in his offensive line to give him 1 more second, he could hit the wide open guy in the middle of the field and potentially get a touchdown out of it. And the problem is you have another Ohio State quarterback projected to go in the lottery. And I've been very much an anti-Ohio State quarterback guy, not only for the duration of this podcast, but for as long as I can remember. Look at Justin Fields. Justin Fields has done pretty much next to nothing for the Bears.
Correct.
Dwayne Haskins, RIP, didn't do anything for Washington or Pittsburgh. Braxton Miller turned into a wide receiver because he wasn't a good enough quarterback. JT Barrett, not even in the league anymore. So all these, great college quarterbacks that Ohio State have that are great because they're throwing to, first-round talent at wide receiver and have, top 3-round talent on the offensive line, and so they get to sit in the pocket all day. It's, as soon as they no longer have 15 seconds to sit back there and wait for one of, their elite wide receivers to eventually break free of an inferior defensive back, they look mediocre. And so, as much as I want to trust in Bryce Young, I've long been an anti-Alabama quarterback too, because they fall in pretty much the same category of guys that have elite skill at the wide receiver, elite offensive line, so they get to sit back there and pick their poison. And for pretty much ever since Joe Namath, there hasn't been like a reputable Alabama quarterback in the league. And the fact that those guys are at the top of, the NFL depth charts with Will Levis at Kentucky, it scares me.
Now, Derek, here's like a novel idea, right? I know this is just not really ever considered, but I'd like to throw it out there.
Trade for Cooper.
What if we just signed a competent quarterback? What if we just went out and signed somebody that was somewhat proven in the league? I don't know what the free agency market looks like for next season. I'm going to be honest. But what if we...
Well, Bob, let me help you out.
What if we just signed somebody? Help me out, Derek. Help me out.
Lamar Jackson will be a free agent, which could be a big one.
You can get him out of Baltimore. That's fine with me. I'm okay with that.
We're ready. We're ready.
Tampa Tom will be a free agent, but I have a feeling he might be retiring instead. Baker Mayfield, free agent. Baker Mayfield is Buster.
Bobby, you said competent. You said competent quarterback.
Yeah, don't forget your own words, Bob. Sam Darnold. Free agent. Jimmy G. Jimmy G's a winner. Jimmy G is a winner.
I mean,
so at least he's got that.
True. Could he get us to the playoffs?
Teddy Bridgewater.
Oh, God.
Daniel Jones.
Oh, Lord have mercy.
Case Keenum.
Sunk.
Mason Rudolph.
He's still concussed.
Jacoby Brissett.
No.
I ain't right back at Geno Smith.
Maybe.
Still elite Joe Flacco.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
The Red Rifle.
A Red Rifle, Detroit, baby.
He's been there.
Let's make it happen.
Mike White.
Oh, God.
Kyle Allen.
That's who we're going to sign. You know who we're going to sign? We're going to sign the Red Rifle. That's who we would sign. After all that, guys, we got our man, Andy Dalton, in his 20th season.
Cooper Rush will be a free agent.
Oh, goody. 5-0 wins the Lions and leaves 5-17.
And then last but not least, Lamar Jackson will be a free agent.
Derek.
Can we just admit that Cooper Rush is not bad at football? Like, come on, people.
We're fine admitting that. But
I will never say Cooper Rush is bad at football.
Here's what I want to talk about, Derek.
Legend.
Derek, Lamar Jackson. How those two words sounding right now?
I mean, we're already paying Jared Goff $31 million a year. What difference does adding another $12.5 million for Lamar Jackson? I'm all for it.
You saw my face light up.
The last thing about this, Bob.
Okay. Yeah.
This will make you sick.
I got the trash can behind me.
Do you remember when the Detroit Pistons were still paying Josh Smith?
Oh my God. Derek.
And a bunch of other bums.
Derek, I talk to you about it every other day.
the Lions are still paying Trey Flowers $12 million
Oh my, how is that even happening?
and Jamie Collins $6 million. They're two of our top 10 most expensive players, and they're not even on the team anymore.
Derek, I'm feeling lightheaded.
Dennis,
Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me?
I'm not kidding you. Not kidding.
When are they off the books, Derek? When are they off the
Now,
books?
at the end of this year.
Okay, all
At the
right.
end of this year.
Pay the man his money.
Dennis, me and Bob have gone on long enough. It's
Yes,
time.
we have.
I mean, you got tucked. You got tucked. And your offense, for all of its weapons, looks pedestrian for far too many stretches of the ball game. Last week, I posed the question about what type of head coach Zach Taylor is. And thank you, Zach Taylor, for continuing to make me look like a genius, and Bobby also. Dennis, I mean, you get the score at the end of the game. You think, you might be able to hold on, and then you get tucked. What happened?
I mean, it's okay. It's okay you guys ran it because I'm going to go on a rant of my own. And I've got a lot of thoughts about this because
Please do. I've got to get some headache medicine, so take your time, Dennis.
so it turns out that the last couple of weeks I've just been sitting here calling for us to run the ball, to get creative with short passes and screens, and to set up the deep ball so Joe can throw it deep and not have to throw into too high coverage. They're doing that, but then they're not throwing it deep. It doesn't matter. It doesn't work if you don't take any shots down the field. Like the entire game, we're just throwing these like screen passes out to Jamar Chase behind the line of scrimmage that pick up 2 yards and running Joe Mixon up the gut. At no point did we even think to throw the ball down the field. I pulled up some stats because this was just absolutely bothering me. Intended air yards per pass attempt. For the number of times that Joe drops back, how far down the field on average is he looking to throw? In this game, 3.4 yards. That's horrendous. 3.4 yards intended through the air per pass attempt. That's gross. I pulled up some other stats. Of his 35 total pass attempts, 4 were attempted over 15 yards down the field. 4. 2 of those ended up in pass interference penalties that gained us like 2 of our biggest chunk yards of the entire game. And Derek, you just when you just briefly stepped out, I was just talking about how I've been sitting here on this podcast yelling and ranting about how we need to throw these short passes, these short screens, get the ball out of Joe's hands early. It doesn't work if you never throw the ball down the field after that.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you just continue to do that the entire game, the defense comes up, stops it, and we're just scared to throw the ball down the field. Like we're scared that the offensive line is not going to hold up if Joe takes longer than 2 seconds with the ball. We're scared that for some reason Joe is going to throw a pick or make a bad decision. And I don't know if that's on Zach Taylor. I don't know if that's on Joe Burrow just ignoring deep shots down the field because he doesn't feel confident in himself. I don't know who the blame falls on there, but we take no shots down the field. It's disgusting. We're basically just scared of throwing it deep now. And I don't understand where that came from because that's all we did last year. The good news from this game, because the problem has been to this point that we weren't doing that and we also couldn't run the ball. The good news is the running game got going a bit. Joe Mixon ripped off some chunk yardage plays. They did get a little creative with Burrow running the ball as well. I looked at this because I think this is interesting, and I brought it up last week. Yards before contact per attempt and yards after contact per attempt. This week against Baltimore, 3.5 yards before contact per attempt, which would have been second in the NFL if we were doing that on a season average. Very good. The offensive line
nearly
finally got some push.
Contact.
And 1.5 after contact, which is double what we had on a season average of 0.7, which was dead last in the NFL. So it's an improvement for Mixon and P. Ryan. So the running game seems to improve. It improved at least in this game, but I still like I said, I don't know if it's Zach Taylor's fault for not throwing the ball down the field. I don't know if Joe Burrow was scared to throw the ball down the field. I don't know if they combined are just not comfortable with the offensive line holding up for longer than 2 seconds. I don't know what it is. I was like, that first drive, we picked up that first down real quick on a couple of short screens out to Jamar. And I was like, okay, this is going to get going. We're going to run the ball. We're going to run these plays. We're going to take a long drive down the field. And then later in the game, those deep shots are going to be there. And I don't know if they were or not, but we certainly weren't taking a shot. We certainly weren't giving it a chance to happen. And like, those are the plays where you end up with pass interferences. Those are the plays where if you do throw an interception, at least it was a 40-yard bomb down the field. Like, I'm okay with that. And it just feels like we're not taking any chances. And to me, it feels like it should be there with the talent that we have.
As Bob likes to say, the 40-yard interception is as good as a punt.
Exactly, right? And like, I'm okay with that because a couple of those are going to hit with the talent we have. A couple of those bombs, Jamar is going to catch and take to the house. Or T is going to go up and catch and take to the house. And those are the plays that we just have not had this entire season, and no more so than in this game on Sunday night. And somehow it was still competitive, given all of this ranting. And we also had the 4th and 2 goal line play, which that's where I blame Zach Taylor a bit, and he's gotten a lot of hate for this. They try to run the Andy Reid Kansas City shovel pass play to Stanley Morgan, who has literally, that was his only target this season. He is the 5th receiver on our depth chart. With the game on the line of 4th and goal, we try a play that I've never seen the Bengals run before out of Andy Reid's playbook to our 5th receiver. That makes no sense. I don't know where that came from. I would have taken the points myself, and I said this. I was talking to some people while I was watching the game, and I said I would just kick a field goal here and take the points. At the end of the day, I'm okay with them going for it, but that's a horrible play call. And I don't know what they were trying to do. And it looked like doomed from the beginning. Like, the whole thing was just blown up right from the snap. It just wasn't there. No idea why you're targeting Stanley Morgan on a design play from 2 yards out with the game on the line. That makes no sense to me. So there's a lot of frustration. Hopefully they can get it right this week down at the Superdome in New Orleans. It was encouraging, like I said, to see more push out of the offensive line up front in the run game and more success in the run game. But like I said, and like I laid out here, it's just, you've got to take some deep shots down the field at some point.
Speaking of, who do you guys got for Bengals Saints? You know, Bob, we get a week off from having to watch the Lions. So thank goodness, Lions fans, rest easy. Although
I need a week off.
Although the Lions, you know, I'm sure we'll see the memes. Breaking news: the Lions lost to the bye week. I'm sure we'll see those as we have every year. But for this Bengals Saints game, Bob, we'll start with you and work our way around. Who you got?
The red
Don't
rifle.
do it, Bobby.
Don't
do it. Don't do it.
The Red Rifle.
The Red Rifle's got scores to settle. He's got, retribution to get. And here's the thing, I just don't have a good feeling about the Bengals. Like, I really, I want to believe that they just get this done in mop-up duty. Like, this will just be, a good win for them. But just, I'm not really feeling that at all. And so...
The R word, Bob.
Yeah, well, I've said that a million times about the Bengals this season, and fortunately, Dennis is going to have to, get on bended knee and, admit he was wrong to me at some point by the end of the season. But, Andy Dalton, here's the thing about Andy Dalton. Seasoned veteran, plenty of experience. That much we can say about Andy. And he happens to be working with an offense that was popping off big play after big play last week to none other than our good pal Taysom Hill, who also can, get behind center and throw a couple passes if need be. So, here's the, at New Orleans, a very tough place to play, by the way. Very tough place to play. I think it's I think it could be another one of the games like you just had where could come down to the field goal kick at the end of the game, and my heart says give me the red rifle.
Well, Dennis, for some reason I can't quit the Bengals. It's like a smoking habit. Every week I say I'm down to my last straw with the Bengals, and then they win. And I'm like, okay, maybe the Bengals are good again. And then they lose. And so now I'm back to last straw. Last straw game for Cincinnati.
You said that last week.
You can't lose to the Red. No, last game was the fraud game of the week.
Oh.
Last game was the fraud game of the week. When the Bengals played the Dolphins, that was a last straw game. So we're back to a last straw game for Cincinnati. And you can't lose to the You can't lose the Red Rifle. Chris Olave was concussed last week and is likely not going to play. Literally, all you have to do is worry about the slant god Michael Thomas, who is pretty much always hurt. And then just stop Alvin Kamara. So
here's the thing, and
the Bengals should win this game. So I'm going to take them.
Yeah, and I want to take them too. After watching Taysom Hill last week, I suddenly got scared that somehow we're just not going to game plan for that and he's going to run all over us. But barring that, I'm not too scared. That could happen, but the defense has not really been the concern this year. Looking at some of the defensive numbers for New Orleans, they seem very middle of the road, and passing defense and rushing defense, just it's like all between ranked 16th and 19th, just very average. So, and Baltimore has a good defense, so I get some confidence from that. I'm a little worried about Taysom Hill and some of the stuff that they seem to be doing that's had some success, and Bobby's smiling over there. I can get to him in a second. But this is simply a game you have to win. This is a stretch that we're going on now. We get New Orleans. We host Atlanta. We go to Cleveland. We host Carolina. We play Pittsburgh. We just have to win 4 of these next 5 games. And all, just to be frank, and it's got to be New Orleans. New Orleans has got to be one of those, because I think the most competitive one will be Cleveland, because that's at Cleveland on Monday Night Football, and that just sounds tough. So we just frankly have to have this one. You can't drop to 2-4 with the back end of the schedule that we have, because we end with Kansas City and Buffalo and Tampa Bay and Baltimore again. So it's just, this is when the winning needs to start if we're going to have a good enough record to hold up at the end of the season to win this division, or even frankly make the playoffs. So
now, Dennis,
next, yeah, go ahead.
Dennis, you didn't address the Red Rifle. What do you think he could potentially do to you this weekend?
The Red Rifle's been pretty decent. He's been average. He's done what he's needed to do, but he doesn't bring me fear. And I mean, the only thing is he's going to really want to win this game.
Good. Doesn't bring you fear. That's exactly where I want it to be. Good. Go ahead.
Why is that?
Well, because I want you to underestimate the Red Rifle. That's what I want you to do. That's what I want you to do, Dennis. And I know you've seen a lot
the Red Rifle's not beating us.
Well, but here's the thing.
I love Andy, but
can you beat yourself before the Red Rifle? Yeah, can you just beat yourself? Does the Red Rifle not need to beat you, but do you beat yourself?
The Red Rifle does what he needs to do to get points on the board for the Northern Saints. If we lose this game, it's because the offense once again looks anemic.
And it's a time for firing.
The reason
it's time for firing.
I'm not there yet, because we did just go to the Super Bowl last year, and we're only 2-3, and the division is still literally a game out from the division lead, and it's only 5 games into the season. I'm not there yet, but there's some questions that need to be answered, and I think they just need to be answered on the football field. And like you said, I think it's possible that this game ends up in just kind of a mop-up kind of game, and I sincerely hope so, but it's scary close.
I'm not picking it, baby. I'm not picking it.
The odds makers have it at a -1.5 Cincinnati. So it could be down to the wire.
Game 2 on our slate, the Lions versus the bye week. I'm going to take the Lions here.
The bye week, baby.
I'm going to take the Lions here. A lot of injuries for the Lions over the past couple weeks. I think this is a good week for them to finally, rest some bodies, get some guys healthy. So for the first time in 5 years, I'm going to take the Lions to defeat the bye week.
Do you think we can actually get a tie in this one potentially?
Potentially.
Yeah, I mean,
all right. I said my piece on Cincinnati, so I feel relieved. It's like I've just gotten this weight off my chest now, and we'll just have to watch how it plays out. If the Red Rifle beats us, I'll be low key happy for him, but I'll just be even more disgusted in my Bengals.
Bob, who you got? The Lions or the bye week?
I've got actually a close one, but the Lions in the end. I've never seen such craziness when it comes to the injuries that the Lions have been suffering.
Fire the training staff.
So that needs to get addressed, but I mean, we've got to hope that something gets figured out over this bye week.
You heard it here first. The Lions training staff will see significant changes made in the off season, if not by the end of this season.
I agree.
We'll do a quick blitz of the remaining NFL games. Ravens Giants. The Giants are 4-1 at the Meadowlands. Ravens coming off that Monday night win. I'm going to take Baltimore here because I just can't stomach the Giants being 5-1.
Baltimore.
I took the Giants in the pick'em. I'll stick with the Giants here.
Is that out of principle, Dennis? You can't root for the AFC North?
It is out of principle. It's also out of it being in the Meadowlands, and Brian Daboll is fired up. So give me him over Jim. Or I'm sorry, John. I always get them mixed up.
And Bob, you took Baltimore?
Yeah, I'm taking Baltimore. I've seen fired up coaches that haven't done diddly squat, so I'm going with Baltimore.
Jags Colts.
Fair enough.
Jags Colts, an AFC South absolute thriller coming up. The Colts coming off the 12-9 victory over Denver. The Jags coming off of putting up 400 yards of offense, but only scoring 6 points against Houston. Toilet Bowl game of the week. I guess I'll take Indianapolis, I guess. If Jonathan Taylor's playing, if he's not playing, I'll take Jacksonville.
No, the Colts have looked horrible. That was a horrible game last week. Jacksonville gets right in this one. Give me the Jags.
Give me the Jags, too.
Patriots-Browns in Cleveland. Bailey Zapp, E. If you're Zappy and you know it, clap your hands. That's how the Patriots fans felt last week after the Lions got zapped. Jacoby Brissett in Cleveland. They can run the ball very well, but Bill Belichick is Bill Belichick. And so I'm going to have to take New England because I just can't put any trust in Cleveland because they constantly just blow games left and right.
For me, it seems like a game logically that New England's going to win after a pretty good performance against Detroit, but something in my heart's telling me that Cleveland's going to pull it out, so I'm going to go with the Browns.
Give me the Pats.
The Browns have... Why couldn't the Lions have gotten a schedule like this? The Panthers, they beat by 2. They lost to the Jets by 1. They beat the Steelers by 12. Lost to the Falcons by 3. And lost to the Chargers, who have like half their team on injured reserve, by 2. Bold pick taking Cleveland. I'll leave it at that. Bucs Steelers. Kenny Pickett. More like, Kenny get picked. Tampa Tom is not going to lose to Mike Tomlin. No shot.
Pittsburgh looks like maybe one of the worst teams in the league, so Tom's going to beat them. I mean, it's just straight up.
Bob, we're going to be 1 week closer to Tomlin finishing under 500 finally?
Yes, we are.
49ers Falcons. The Falcons actually surprisingly aren't completely inept offensively. But like we've said time and time again, Jimmy G's a proven winner. So give me Jimmy G and the 49ers.
I'm going to go the same way. The Falcons have looked pretty decent, but I do think that the 49ers have a better team so far. So
give me the Niners as well.
Packers Jets. This game's kind of interesting, actually. The Jets can score points. and the Packers have not scored very many points. But at Lambeau, this feels like a game the Packers have to win, but almost feels like Zach Wilson can pull it off. But this is this is my straw game for the Packers as well, because Aaron Rodgers clearly only trusts
Sure.
Allen Lazard, and they have serious issues throwing the football to a bunch of bums at wide receiver. And even though their defense is good and they still have Aaron Jones, they they just cannot pass very effectively right now. But I'm still going to take Green Bay because I can't count out the bad man.
This is one where you see that matchup on paper and you're like, oh, easy, give me the Packers. But then I had to second guess a second. I'm like, okay, hold on a second. The Jets have actually showed some competency. They have a lot of young talent on both sides of the ball. And sure, going into Lambeau, beating Aaron Rodgers is a super tall task. But hey, we've seen Daniel Jones and the New York Giants do it, albeit in London. We saw
Yep.
Minnesota.
oh, they lost to Minnesota. Yeah, they lost to Kirk Cousins in Minnesota. I think this is my like dark horse sleeper pick of the week, but I'm gonna pick the New York Jets. I'm willing to do it. I got a good feeling.
Bob.
I am not willing to do it, and there's just no way the Jets are pulling this off in my mind.
Vikings Dolphins. The last game for the early slate. Vikings had to have one of the luckiest schedules in the entire NFL. The Saints did not have their starting quarterback, although you can make a case that Jameis really isn't that good. But either way, Vikings have had a pretty soft schedule up to date, and now they get the Miami Dolphins and their third string quarterback. More likely than not, Teddy isn't going to play, and Tua definitely isn't playing. So I just don't think that Miami looked terrible last week against the Jets. This is a game Kirk Cousins would lose, but I don't think he will. Dennis.
Well, I'm exactly with you on this one. Although I like the Dolphins this year. They've looked really good when they've had Tua, and without him, and then without Teddy, who is a pretty solid backup, who is probably not going to play. Poor Skylar Thompson. This is going to be a loss, I think.
Yeah, it's Vikings all the way as far as I'm concerned.
Bob, the Vikings are going to be 5-1.
Yeah, well, Derek, that shouldn't surprise you because there's always a team that's at 5-1 in the NFC North, and it's never us.
Rams Panthers, this feels like a very, important get right game for the Rams. Panthers are down there with the Steelers for worst team in the NFL. Fired Matt Rule, no surprises there. But this is a game where you just feel like the Rams have got to win this one. Straw game for the Rams for me as well. A lot of strong games this week, but I got to
That's a straw game for the Rams.
Yeah, got to believe
They don't
in
look good.
staff.
They don't look good, but they got to figure this out. And I guess as there's a small part of me that wants to say the Panthers come out, fired up off of Matt Rule being fired and and can do something here. It is in LA, but at the end of the day, I think Sean McVay is just a better head coach and is going to be able to navigate this one and pull it out.
And
Bob, any hope for PJ Walker and the Panthers?
a lot of hope, but I don't think it gets done this week, unfortunately. There's a lot of hope, though.
Cardinals Seahawks. Very interesting game. The NFC West is always a crapshoot, and Geno Smith offense in Seattle has looked very good. Arizona, hit or miss. Bob, I see you rubbing your hands over there. I've got to take Arizona just out of principle. Straw game. This is a loser leaves town game. 2-3 Cardinals, 2-3 Seahawks. The Cardinals want any hope at treading water to make the playoffs while D-Hop is still out. This is a game they've got to win.
And I just don't think they're going to do it. Give me Geno. He's... If you've been following fantasy football at all, you know that Geno Smith has been a man that you like on your team the last few weeks. So if he keeps that up, especially with that very inconsistent Cardinals team, you just never know when to count on him and when to not. In Seattle this week, if I recall, Give me the Seahawks.
Yeah, I'm with Bobby. I'm going to go with the Seahawks too. Geno Smith. No Rashad Penny out for the year, but Ken Walker came in and took over pretty efficiently last week. That looked good. The Seattle offense looks decent. The Seattle defense is terrible, but the Cardinals have not been impressive, and it kind of seems like they all just like hate each other out there. So I don't think the chemistry is good in Arizona right now, and in Seattle, yeah, I'll give you Seahawks.
Bob, Kenneth Walker, will you be getting a jersey for Christmas?
I don't actually really have any basketball or football jerseys, so I probably not. But
What about a jersey? What about a jersey?
I don't have any jerseys either.
Well,
Derek, we gotta get him a Ken Walker jersey. I mean,
I
come
think
on.
so. He's now Seattle's #1 running back.
I mean, should have always been.
Bills Chiefs. This is going to be a good one. It's a shame that we have to watch the Broncos and Chargers on Monday night instead of the Bills and Chiefs on Monday night. Chiefs coming off of comeback performance against the Raiders. Sorry, Bob, again. The Bills coming off a dominant performance against Pittsburgh, like anybody would have thought otherwise. But I'm rolling with the Bills because they were my Super Bowl pick for the year, and I'm gotta ride them.
This is a tie. It goes to overtime. Nobody wins. It's 50-50. No, honestly, this is the game to watch. This is going to be insane. Uh, I do think that the Bills have just been so dominant this year, and the Chiefs have had. I mean, sure, they've looked really good. Everyone expected, at least I expected that. Andy Reid's a fantastic head coach. Still have Patrick Mahomes. He's still doing crazy stuff, but they had to come back in kind of miracle fashion to beat the Raiders. The Bills have just dominated pretty much across the board, except for that kind of fluke Miami game where things just looked weird. So even in Kansas City, I think the Bills win this. It should be the most entertaining game of the weekend, though.
Bob,
Why am I always the contrarian? I'm taking the Chiefs. I like them at home, and I don't have. Once again, it always just comes down to it. I don't have a good gut feeling about the Bills. I don't have a lot of faith in the Bills. I need to see them get it done in some more big moments for me to truly believe in that that this can be the year for them. And what better way for them to do that than obviously being the Chiefs? But I don't see it.
Cowboys Eagles are going to be our Sunday night game for this week. All of a sudden, this game is a lot more intriguing than we thought it was going to be a few weeks ago. Cooper Rush has kept the Cowboys afloat. Fire up chips. Philadelphia Eagles escaped Arizona, the desert, last week. 5-0 Eagles, 4-1 Cowboys. I'm real tempted to take Dallas here. I really am, mostly out of principle that I don't think Philly's that good, to be honest. I just think that somehow they just win games, which I guess is a penchant of a good team. I just don't think they deserve to be undefeated. I don't know. I'm really high on the Cowboys defense. I was going into this year that I thought the Cowboys defense was going to be really good. And so far, Micah Parsons has taken another step that I didn't think he could even take. So I'm going to do it. How about them Cowboys?
That
Dennis.
just pains me to hear. That was just a shot to the heart. I gotta get the knife out first. I'm not necessarily like a super believer in the Philadelphia Eagles, but in Philly, Jalen Hurts has looked really good this year. Very dynamic. Obviously, having AJ Brown, Devonta Smith is both there has been really really good, and the defense has been solid. The Cowboys have a really good defense, like you said, and that worries me a little bit about taking Philly. But I'm still gonna ride with Philly here. I just can't utter the words like "Go Cowboys." It's just not possible.
I am likewise going to be taking the Birds this week. The Dirty Birds did it to my Lions, and Cooper, here's the thing. Cooper Rush has done what's asked of him so far, but I'm kind of with the national media on this one. I kind of want to see what happens, and I suspect it'll be in this game when he's maybe forced to play it from a little bit more of a position of behind or position where he's going to have to make plays on a much more consistent basis to keep the team in the game. I like Philly at home on this one. I think if Dak plays, that gives them absolutely no better chance to win. So it really doesn't matter either way. I'm rocking with the Birds.
Last game, Monday Night Football. The NFL executives and Roger Goodell are going to, continue to make us want to pull our eyes out. Denver at the Chargers. At the beginning of the season, this looked like it could have been a cool matchup. But this is the danger of scheduling any team on prime time 4 times in 6 weeks. And the Broncos are staying. They are staying. The Chargers are injury-riddled. And even with that, Russell Wilson's lat tear or whatever he's got going on, no Javonte Williams. This is going to be an ugly game that the Chargers end up winning.
Yeah, I'm pretty much on the same board. This Broncos team, I think I sent you guys the meme of me on my way to find the guy who scheduled the Broncos 4 out of 6 weeks on primetime. This is atrocious, and now Russell is kind of hurt, question mark. Of course, the Chargers have a lot of injuries to deal with, but I still think they're just going to be trotting out more talent and just a better, like you said, no Javonte, that's a killer. And this Broncos team is suddenly just much less interesting than they were 6 weeks ago before the NFL season started. So I think it's going to be the Chargers.
Yeah, I'm with you as well. The exact same logic. I wanted to believe in the Broncos, can't really do it. Don't really believe in the Chargers. They've also really not given me much to believe in, but I have a touch more faith in them, so I'm going to go with the Chargers.
All right, that'll wrap it up for our NFL Week 6 preview. Now time to start wrapping up the show. We'll start with winners and losers of the week, as there always are. A week of sports content, and in the entertainment world in general, there's winners and losers to be had. We'll start with all the winners and then cycle back around to the losers. Bob, who's your winner of the week?
My winner of the week is none other than Bailey Zappi for picking up a W.
Zapping.
Zapping, not only having a great last name, but just getting it done and doing what was asked from him at my expense, as always, is at my expense. But congratulations. It's not easy to be a quarterback in this league and come in and get it done on short notice. As a third string, obviously not much expected of you, and you do what you need to do to get the job done.
It was those red jerseys, Bob. We were sunk from the start.
As I miraculously, famously said at the beginning of the game.
Dennis.
Now, I'm wondering if I stole Derek's here, because this was actually a last-second change for me, but my official winner of the week is James Madison University, who cracked the top 25 in college football.
That wasn't mine, but I love that you pointed it out, Dennis.
5-0. 5-0, finally cracked the top 25. I think I was looking into this, I believe, for the first time ever in school history. So hats off to James Madison University.
And their first year of FBS football. Unfortunately, we won't see James Madison in the bowl games this year because due to the way that they left their previous conference, they got banned
for a year, right?
For 1 year, which is stupid. But yeah. Go James Madison. Huge. My winner of the week, if you guys would allow me to share my screen again, is this. That right there is UCF bringing back the Citronauts. UCF is my winner of the week. They absolutely blew the brakes off of Temple tonight, and they brought back the Citronaut. They brought back the space-themed jerseys that bang every single year. So that's my winner of the week is citrus fruits and UCF football. Bob, you're a loser.
So many losers for me.
A lot of losers. A lot.
But I think when it's all said and done, I'm gonna have to go with none other than Zach Taylor, head coach of the Cincinnati Bengals football team.
There's so many better losers than that this week. I
I
have
agree,
four right
Dennis.
off the
I
top of my
agree.
head. That's horrible.
I mean, that's all well and good, but you'll have plenty of opportunity to share your losers. The amount of memes this week that I saw about Zach Taylor absolutely stinking in his job that made me crack up laughing warranted this pick for me.
Just because there's a bunch of memes doesn't mean it's true.
I mean, that's cool, but
It's just the
Debatable.
opinions of a bunch of random
Debatable.
people.
But at the end of the day, your team, as Derek said and was previously said before him, you are what your record says you are, and the
Not what the memes said we are.
Yeah, well, that's great, but the memes just really echo what your record says you are, which is buns. And you pointed it out in your own rant in your own segment. Zach Taylor made some critical coaching errors during the game, especially with that late fourth down play to the fifth string. Dennis, do I need to remind you what you said yourself? A play that you've never ran before to like your fifth string. Their fifth guy on the depth chart.
I'm just saying he's not
receiver.
the worst loser of the week. There's just, but continue. You're entitled to your own.
I'm not necessarily going to give the worst. It's just loser of the week. There's a lot of people that are losers. But anyway, I mean, I could say the Lions every week too, but what whoop-de freaking do? But yeah, I mean, Zach Taylor. I really wanted to believe in the Bengals this year. I wanted to. I obviously didn't. I didn't believe in that. I wanted to believe.
You didn't want to.
I wanted to believe, but I didn't believe. Because I know what... I knew in my heart of hearts what was going to happen to this team. And when you don't have that great head coach to get you over the top, that could be the difference.
I remember you specifically talking about how much more well-rounded the Bengals team was than the Baltimore Ravens. Do we have to check the tape?
No, I definitely did say that. However, you got to execute your well-roundedness, and when as you quite literally, Dennis, you check the tape. Go back 30 minutes ago to what you were saying, where you're throwing you're averaging an air distance of 3 yards. How is that being well-rounded, Dennis? You're not taking any shots down the field. You turned yourself into a one-dimensional team because, Dennis, you're proving my point for me. Because your head coach stinks at calling plays and he doesn't know what he's doing. Dennis, you took what was maybe a mediocre loser into the week and you're making it a great one. I thank you, Dennis.
I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm not saying you're wrong. It's just one of those things where I can say it, you can't.
Okay, well, at least I've been consistent, Dennis. You at least have to give me that.
And like Stephen A always said, it's true, but you didn't have to say it.
Correct. Yes, you're not wrong.
You're not wrong.
You're not wrong.
Dennis, you're loser of the week.
Yeah, this one was a little bit back and forth. And
it better be a good one since you called out Bob, Dennis.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair. I've got some backups in case I need to go to those. But at the end of the day, oh, man, actually, maybe I need to save that one because that could be looked at as a winner as well. My true loser of the week will be Michael Dixon, the Seattle punter. I don't know if you saw this play. Literally just randomly decided to, fake punt for no reason.
Did see that.
And then got wrecked by Taysom Hill and fumbled the football. That was horrible. I don't know. I think Pete Carroll was, furious. It was literally inside their own 25-yard line, and he just decided to pull up and try to throw it, and it was horrible. So yeah, Michael Dixon, you lose. I'm sorry, man. And then the Saints ended up winning the game. So that was horrendous.
Yeah, that was not a good play. That was not a good play. My loser of the week is going to be the Baylor Bears. In fact, they just lost tonight for the 6th straight time at West Virginia. They're 0-6 as a program at West Virginia, and they lost another heartbreaker, 43-40. And what was supposed to be another promising year for the Baylor Bears is once again going up in flames uh, down in West Virginia. Country roads take me home to the loser of the week, the Baylor Bears. Dennis, Bob, honorable mentions for winners, and then we'll do honorable mentions for losers. Who do we got?
For another winner, I almost went with just the entire city of New York. The Giants coming off a big win in London against the Packers. The Jets are maybe good, and the Yankees still. Now, basically anybody but Mets fans in New York. That was going to be my winner of the week.
Bob, any honorable mention winners for you?
I'm going to go with mediocre football teams because they can keep getting primetime games, and so they get way more exposure to the world than anybody would warrant with their current play. So I'm going to go winners of the week, mediocre teams in their TV deals.
My other winner. Oh, go ahead, Derek.
Yeah, go ahead, Dennis. I was thinking.
I was just gonna say I'm gonna pull Bobby here and inspired by my good friend and say Skylar Thompson because he has a job.
I like that, Dennis. I like it.
Inspired to go for the third string quarterbacks who come in because of concussions and injuries.
Mine's gonna be jerseys because of the Patriots jerseys last week. Those were sick. Big fan of the Bears all orange jerseys.
No, I was going to say you got to throw out the Bears. That was horrible. Oh.
What? I love all orange. I just love all orange as a concept, so I have to ride with it. And not to mention the Commanders all blacks. They broke those out as well when they played the Cowboys. Was that 2 weeks ago? 2 weeks ago. So big. It's been a big couple weeks here for jerseys, but this week and last week especially. Was pretty big. I did just briefly, since Dennis brought it up for his loser, I found it. Hopefully it's pulled up. But Dennis, can you walk us through the play here?
Yeah, so Michael Dixon kind of does one of those like running Australian like pooch punts and then just decides to like take off with two Saints right there and gets absolutely smushed. And Taysom Hill comes up with the ball at the 15-yard line. I don't know what that was, but he's a loser.
It just never stood a chance.
I think it's 4th and 9 too. 4th and 9. It's not like 4th and 1. It's not like, inside his own 20-yard line. If I was a Seattle fan, literally tied game in the second quarter. Like what? I think
it looks like it almost looks like New Orleans was expecting a fate because watch these guys out here. Look at them. They're playing zone coverage. Oh man,
this made no sense to me. I was watching Red Zone, and when that play happened, I was just absolutely mind blown. So I immediately noted it down, and I'm glad I did because I almost forgot about it. Yeah. But I just have my notes up during the games on Saturday and Sunday when I'm watching, and just note anything down that I see so I don't forget it come Thursday.
Honorable mention losers, I've got a few. Trumpets, specifically the trumpets in Narcos when Edwin Diaz, they played his walkout song when they were down 4-0 and then he immediately gave up 2 more runs in the elimination game to the Padres. So big time losers, trumpets, that was one. You guys got any others?
I almost said Matt Rule because he was fired, but I didn't know if he's actually a winner because he's going to make like $40 million to do nothing.
True. So, his buyout is nuts.
Maybe the Panthers just in general are the real losers, but he was 11-27 as a head coach and now does not have a head coaching job in the NFL. So, the photographer who got wrecked by Devontae Adams.
I was going to call him a winner. Getting the bag. Getting your bag is a winner.
That's another one. Yeah.
Filing an assault charge, a misdemeanor assault charge against Devontae Adams. Hopefully he takes it to civil court so he can actually, get money instead of pressing criminal charges. He should be pressing civil charges. So hopefully he finds the right lawyer and get a bag because I'm all for the civilian getting the bag from rich superstars who think they're above, common decency. I mean, he
Yeah, that
just
was
shoved the guy and
ridiculous.
didn't even bother helping him back up.
I know you're mad, but you simply can't do that. It's just simply unacceptable. Punch a wall, punch a locker. I don't care. Like take it out on something else. He already threw his helmet. I understand it's frustrating. I mean, I get the same way as a fan, but you simply can't just shove another human being who did nothing.
I mean, and even like I can understand like he sort of like ran out in front of him, and so he pushed him. But if you were truly sorry about it, you would have tried to help him back up immediately after you did it.
Yeah,
But
no remorse. Yeah.
he was just looking to take out his frustrations on something, and that dude happened to be there, and clear lack of judgment there. Bob, what you got any thoughts on that? Are you a bag man? Get your money, photographer.
I mean, yeah, I mean, sure, yeah, but it's not a good look for the game, so that doesn't make me that happy.
Fair. I could have sworn I had another loser in mind, but I can't think of it anymore. I guess that's what I get for not writing it. Oh, Oklahoma football. Big fat losers. Fat losers. Absolutely railroaded by Texas and the Red River Showdown, as they call it now. Uh, and it doesn't get much easier with having to go to TCU, to Fort Worth. So yeah, big time losers are Oklahoma football as well. Any others before we jump into right bench ballers?
Nope, I say let's do it.
All right. In order to make sure that I don't get sniped again this week,
I won't
I'm
be
gonna
sniping you, I promise.
I'm gonna lead it off. Um, he's a man that's already been mentioned a couple of times in this podcast already. Taysom Hill, dang it, Taysom Hill. Dennis, was that yours?
No, it's not, but I thought about it.
Yeah, I mean, I had to take the guy that got 4 tubs, 3 rushing, as you mentioned, and as we saw in the clip, you know, covering the impromptu fake punt by Seattle. It almost felt like Drew Brees was calling this game through the headset of the Saints coach, because when Sean Payton gave Taysom Hill all that money in that contract extension, that game was how I envisioned Sean Payton seeing Taysom Hill's career play out. So yeah, 4 tubs, 1 passing, 3 rushing, 112 yards on the ground. Dude ate Seattle up alive, man. This is really the first Taysom Hill sighting of the year. So give me Taysom Hill.
That's a good one. Bobby, go ahead.
You know, as I always do every once in a while, I'm going to take it to the world of soccer.
Soccer. Yes, I
I'm
love
going to
when
take
you
it to the
do
world
this,
of
yes.
soccer because none of my Tottenham Hotspurs from the Premier League are in the playing some Champions League football. It's the group stages going on. And, you know, in the world of soccer, especially if you're a forward, you tend to get subbed out, quite often if you're either in bad form or if you're just like looking for somebody to give you a bit more that's not as burned out for the end of the game, so you can just run by people when it gets into the later stages of the game. And my favorite player and my pick for this week, Human Son, right bench baller of the week for me, has been having a rough patch of in Premier League play in all competitions. Of coming off a season where he was the leading scorer in the league, and for the first first few games of the season, didn't even grace the goal. People were up in arms. They were asking what's going on with this guy. Well, he started to find his stroke a little bit again, and he scored some goals in Premier League play. And I believe it was 2 days ago, they had a match against none other than Frankfurt from the German Football League in the Champions League. And Human Son managed to put 2 goals past him in one game. And if you have a chance to take a look at the second goal he scored, please do so. Got a very beautiful volley opportunity and took a volley like midair and just absolutely cranked it into the back of the net and did his patented celebration afterwards. But nothing better than my favorite player finding his legs under him again and finally silencing all the haters, because let me tell you, they were out in Twitter in droves saying this guy's washed. He had one season wonder. He's getting subbed off all the time. He's done. It ain't over, baby. Sinaldo's back, baby. Sinaldo's back.
Bob, I got you.
Number 7, Human Son. Beautiful stuff.
I mean, the keeper never stood a chance, Bob.
Never stood a chance. No. Frankfurt,
it was really
see you
over
later.
Before it even started.
See you later, Frankfurt.
Dennis, your right bench baller.
Yeah, I mean, it just doesn't stack up to Taysom Hill and Son. It's like, yeah, exactly. But my right bench baller, just because I was shocked that he's still somehow in the league, is Tevin Coleman, who just rushed for 23 yards, had 44 yards through the air, and 2 touchdowns this week for the San Francisco 49ers, just for no reason. The San Francisco backfield is always just a rotating door of random people who aren't hurt, and apparently his name came up. But yeah, I didn't know Tevin Coleman was still playing NFL football, but he is, and he had a pretty decent week, scored twice for San Fran.
That's a good one, Dennis. That was another one that I was considering. I did want to. There was another winner of the week that I had. Brian Robinson made his NFL debut.
Yes, big time Brian Robinson.
After his recovery. So big ups to Brian Robinson. Happy to see him, back in the league. Made his debut last week. Played again
Washington
tonight.
won a game.
Washington won a game. So yeah, I wanted to point him out as well. Bob, garbage time takes your money. It is time. Brief recap of last week's game. Two of us went perfect, and one of us went 2 for 3. We all nailed the Cowboys under. All 3 of us nailed the Cowboys to cover the 5.5-point spread. They won outright, as I believe I predicted. And they also hit the under very comfortably. What was the score of that game? I didn't write it down.
It was 22-10 Cowboys.
Yeah, 22-10. The over-under was 43.5. So, yeah, very comfortable cover. And then since we had a 2-time for the people, Bob gave us the Saints Seahawks, and I'm pretty sure it was like basically a toss-up, so we just took money line picks here. Dennis, you and I took the Saints, baby. Perfect week for me and Dennis. Bob with the very respectable 2 and 3. Bob with the very respectable 2 for 3. He went contrarian last week. Fortunately, it bit him. Bob, what do you got for us this week?
I've got a game that's near and dear to my heart. One that I will definitely be paying attention to. And it's taking
Michigan State, Wisconsin.
And it's taking place in the city of New Orleans. It's New Orleans versus the Cincinnati Bengals, baby. -1.5 for the Bengals. -1.5. With an over and under of 43.5. Just not much faith in the offenses here. With that a line like that. Dennis, I'll let you start off. 1 p.m. game. How do you see this shaking out for you?
Oh man, I mean, we've been through it a lot on this episode, which I appreciate because I could talk about the Bengals.
Does the 1 point make it a
Reds? But no, it doesn't, because I think we're winning this game by double digits. So yes, give me the Cincinnati Bengals. And also, I mean, it's tough to say that I'm going to win this game by double digits and then take the under, but they have a point. These defenses are better than these offenses, just on both sides, I think. So I could see this getting close, but this feels like an under game where we win like, I don't know, 20-10 or like 20-13 maybe. So that's like a roundabout score prediction. So I'm going to take the Bengals with the -1.5 and boldly take the under.
I'll go next. I'm also going to take the Bengals. I think they win by at least 4. Um, I just don't think New Orleans offense is really that good. I think they put up a lot of points last week because they went up against Seattle's defense, which, like Detroit's, is one of the worst in the league. Um, in terms of the over-under, 43.5 is that's a heck of a spread. Um, if you'll excuse me for a second, because this worked last week with the Cowboys Rams, the Saints have scored 14 points. Let me see. 27, 10, 14, 25, and 39. Holy. And the Bengals haven't been much better, I don't think. This is a good one, Bob. You did well here. Bengals 17, 27, 27, 17, 20. Holy. Do I really have to ride with Dennis 2 weeks in a row? I mean,
Huh. Interesting. Somebody here's gotten good at picks, and all of a sudden somebody else is going behind somebody else.
Dennis, we have the same record over the past 4 weeks, except you have one more pick than me. You got the Browns under, and I took the Browns over.
Yeah, and who's been picking first every time?
You know what, Dennis?
Sounds
Sure,
like
I'll take the over then. I'll take the over then. I don't
I pissed him off.
I don't really have a good reason. This screams like 21-17. But I'll take the over, because why not?
And you know me, when in doubt for the not safe pick, who's here? Me. Who's ready to take the fall? Me. I'm going with the Saints. I've said that. I get an extra point too. That really actually sounds enticing to me.
Yeah, that's gonna be nice. Yeah, that's
the extra point could save me. But I'm going with the over. I think that this is like 24-20, and that is good enough to get it done. So, I think that give me the over in this one. I think that the Cincinnati offense will play a bit better this week, just because the defense is just not as good.
Sounds good. I don't really got much else to add outside of that. Bob, feel free to hit everyone with the socials as we begin to wrap it up.
At Garbage Time Takes on Instagram, at Garbage Time Takes on Twitter, and please feel free to check out Derek's articles as well as many other articles that we got posted on our website in the description below. And especially pay attention to that brand new Lions article and Red Wings article that Derek just put out in the past couple of days, as you saw on our Instagram. So thank you very much, Derek, for getting those out.
That's right. Honorable mention. Winners. Hockey fans. Hockey's back, baby. Dennis, how's Columbus looking?
I don't really know. I have to do some looking into it. I do follow Columbus, but not closely enough. I think they should be better this year because I think they finally haven't sold everyone. Like the last couple of years, they just had pretty much sold everybody off and weren't that great. So I think they're finally developing some of the younger talent. I think they signed a couple of people in the offseason, but I have to look into it.
Just promise me you won't become a Flyers or Penguins fans now that you live in Pennsylvania.
No chance. I absolutely despise the Penguins. The Flyers were okay, but no chance on the Penguins.
Appreciate it. That'll wrap it up for this episode. Thank you once again, everyone, for watching. Bob, how many views did the last episode get? Do we have numbers on that?
We do have them in there. 20 views on the last episode.
Okay, not terrible, but let's see if we can get that back up to 25 this week, folks. Watch it, share it with a friend, have that friend share it with another friend, and just like a pyramid scheme, we'll reach 25 views in no time. But once again, thank you so much for watching. We appreciate it. Feel free to comment, like, subscribe, turn the bell on for notifications so you get notified when we drop that next episode next week. Who knows? Sometimes we drop a surprise episode on the weekends as well. Anyway, thanks again so much for watching. We appreciate the support. And without further ado, in 3,
2, 1, peace.
Peace.